So thank you, everybody. Oh, I see the Dharma School kids are here. Hi, guys. Are there any questions? Surely there's a question. Yes. Speak loud.
Yes, of course. There's two questions I was thinking about. Choosing the one about the Heart Sutra. So in the Heart Sutra, he talks about how all dharmas are marked by emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to speak about that?
Would I? Okay. So everyone understands that in the phrase all dharmas are marked by emptiness, dharma refers to just this universe, everything in this universe as a whole. It's things and actions and matter and energy and so on and so forth. So that's dharma. So all dharmas, because dharma has other meanings as well. So all dharmas are marked by emptiness. So the great teaching of Theravada Buddhism is impermanence. Everything is impermanent. Things arise and they do whatever they do, and what they do keeps changing, and then they disappear. So that's the great teaching, to vastly oversimplify. That's the great teaching of Theravada. The great teaching, and as part of that teaching is this notion of no self-nature. So when Jane was talking about the cage of thinking of, me, that's this idea that I have this self-nature. It's my self-nature. It's not your self-nature, it's my self-nature, okay. So like we're little marbles, little marbles bump into each other. Okay, so then sort of even deeper than that is the Mahayana notion of emptiness. So in Theravada, you can say, well, the emptiness comes about because of impermanence. And in Mahayana, you say, well, the impermanence comes about because of emptiness. And then you can fight about it, but that's stupid, because you're just pointing at the same thing, different directions. So this notion of emptiness is very fundamental to the Mahayana. And the wonderful thing about emptiness is you can't really talk about it because okay, but it's not nothing. It's not nothingness. It's not blankness. The best metaphor for emptiness is space. In space, in quantum physics, space is not passive. Things are constantly arising and disappearing from this vast space. So space itself is very dynamic. Space itself is producing all these things. They're all disappearing into this space. So this is sort of dynamic interpenetration of everything with everything else. And if there were like any kind of substance, if there were any kind of real, hard substance, then how could things actually happen? Billiard balls bouncing into each other doesn't create a universe. So, and the great text to read about this is the great Indian teacher Nagarjuna, who was either 1st or 2nd century. We know nothing about his life. Nothing. There's a lot of legend about him, like he went down to the sea where the Nagas are these sort of like serpent people, sort of like mermen except serpent people, where the Nagas were living, were the guardians of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, the wisdom, perfection of wisdom sutras. There are many of them, they're very long, and the Heart Sutra is a condensation of them. And so that he went down there and they said, oh, you are so wise, here, take these up to the humans, and so there's legends about Nagarjuna. But he was very prolific, and one of the books he wrote is called the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, Fundamental Wisdom of the Middle Way. And the middle way does not mean not too hot, not too cold. The middle way means not is and not is not. So it's sort of liminal state where anything you say or anything you negate, which is another form of saying, doesn't quite touch it. So this is this wonderful book called the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, and there are many translations, and the one I recommend is Jay Garfield, who's a wonderful scholar, mostly of Tibetan Buddhism. He's a wonderful scholar, and he has this wonderful translation and commentary, and it's called Fundamental Wisdom of the Middle Way by Jay Garfield. So if you want to know about emptiness, read that book, okay? Or you can Google emptiness Buddhism and see a whole lot of stuff, some of which is really great, so which maybe not so great. But yeah, so emptiness is a very, very fundamental concept. And the Heart Sutra itself is very interesting in this context because it emphasizes emptiness, right? All dharmas are marked by emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, and so on and so forth. And everything in there, like they do not appear or disappear, that's saying impermanence, not such a deep concept, you know. They do not appear or disappear, are not pure or impure. So this is in Theravada Buddhism, purity is very important. You want to be pure, you don't want to be impure. And everything it does, it negates the Four Noble Truths, right? No suffering, no origination of suffering, no path out of suffering, right? It negates all, it negates the Abhidharma, which is the very profound Buddhist theory of perceptual psychology. How do we perceive this world? How do we create knowledge from our perceptions? That's the Abhidharma. So no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, right? So it's negating the entire Abhidharma. So the Heart Sutra is actually a sort of academically political document where it's, you know, saying, oh, you guys, you're wrong, we're right, you know, like that. But it doesn't read that way. It's incredibly profound and moving. And I remember when I first started practicing, and I loved the Heart Sutra so much. I mean, it just spoke to me so deeply. And I was visiting with my parents, and they lived in San Diego, and we were, you know, in Balboa Park, if you've ever been there, and, you know, the lovely cafes, and we're sitting outdoor at a lovely cafe. And, you know, my mother very suspiciously will tell us about this Buddhism you're involved. She was not happy about it. And I said, oh, there's this wonderful chant. And I started saying, I didn't chant it, I started reciting it. You know, no eyes, no ears. And her face got this look of horror. You know? And I thought, oh gosh, she's not the right audience for it. But yeah, she, you know, rambling. She once asked me, she said, I think I want to learn to meditate. And I said, oh, great, you know. And she, you know, she had a lot of body problems. And so she said, can I sit in a chair? There was no way she was going to sit on the floor. She said, yeah, sure, you can sit in a chair. So she sat in a real comfy armchair. You know, I mean, like, you know, I'm sitting in a correct meditation chair, right? And, you know, Elizabeth is sitting in a correct meditation chair. You know, they're very spare, they're not cushy. You know, we can sit straight in it, but she settles into this armchair because there was no way she was going to, you know, sit straight. And so she sat into this armchair, and I started telling her what to do. And she looked at me very brightly and she said, can I read a book while I'm doing this? And that was the end of the meditation lesson. But anyway, yeah, so emptiness is a very fundamental concept. It's a very deep concept. You can say a lot about this concept. You can have wonderful metaphors for this concept. But ultimately, what is it pointing to? That's the thing. What is it pointing to? So when we experience this intimate connection that we all have with each other, this truck, this loud, mufflerless, that's a great word, mufflerless, it's hard to say, mufflerless truck, right? Or this person shouting, you know, in an alley. You know, these are two examples Jane gave, right? This person shouting in an alley, wake up! Yeah. You know, can you wake up? That's what this is all pointing to. Can you wake up? So thank you for your question. Yeah. Let's see. We have time for one more question, if there's one more question. Okay, so let's move on to announcements.